All right. Happy Wednesday, everyone. We are officially 15 days away from Thanksgiving, which is the 23rd, if I could do mental math properly. And then after Thanksgiving, we go into Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and all the things that people celebrate. And then it's New Year's, it's potlucks, it's all of the things. So we're going to talk about one of the most foundational, pivotal pieces of just overall wellness, and that is your gut. And so we have our amazing expert, Megan, here joining us to talk all things gut and getting yourself ready for gut health. So, any questions, comments, you know what to do. If you're joining us live on our Facebook page, please leave them there. And you can always follow up, either direct messaging us or emailing us to reach out to Megan if you have any further questions. So, without further ado, I'm going to disappear and let Megan just run the show. Okay, enjoy, everyone.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me. So yeah, I can't believe it's already November. Where did everything else go? I have no idea. But today I just want to kind of talk to you about some practical tips to support your gut health during the holiday season and even ways to kind of get ahead of the new year because ensuring that you can get ahead for the new year always feels like it's a good start, so then you don't have to play catch up later. So let's go ahead and let's jump right on into everything. So we're going to talk today about hydration and gut health. We'll talk about sleep and gut health. We'll talk about stress in your gut health. But also I want to give some practical mindful tips for you to do around the holidays. You can even start incorporating these tips now and they can become very habitual for you as well too. And then I also want to present some ideas on how to get ahead for 2024 because crazy enough, that's literally right around the corner. So we're going to go ahead and get started with hydration and gut health. So the reason why hydration and gut health is so important is because you want to make sure that you have a good amount of fluid that you're intaking so that way your body's able to have a good balance of fluid to break down the food that you eat every single day and also take it so that it can be absorbed into different nutrients so that way your cells can be super nourished as well. When we have an insufficient amount of fluid in our diet, so maybe we're not drinking enough water, maybe we're just drinking and we're always constantly peeing it out as far as like trying to retain it because we don't have the appropriate minerals in our water. Insufficient hydration can lead to a lot of constipation. And honestly, if you're going to, participate in the holiday festivities, which I mean, they're not always the healthiest. You've got some things that you really love to eat, family recipes and things like that. They may be a little harder to digest ordinarily, and they can leave you kind of feeling blocked up. And that's not to say to avoid it. It's to prep your body in a way so that way it can kind of move it through your system fast enough. So that way you're not straining or anything like that. The other reason why hydration is super important for gut health as well, too, is because it helps to maintain our gut flora. So our body likes to be in this state of balance. And basically the goal with everything that, we try to teach you at Infinite Wellness is how do we bring your body back into this state of balance where there's not all these imbalances and your body's not having aches and pains and all of the different discomforts that come with being out of balance. So hydration can support a healthy balance of good gut bacteria, and it helps to support and transport essential nutrients to slow and grow the beneficial bacteria that we need in our gut. And this is crucial for overall gut health. So you probably hear of like good bacteria and bad bacteria. Well, you want to have a good balance of both of them. You don't want to have a lot of bad bacteria where your body's like feeling really bloating and maybe gas and things like that, but you don't want to have too much bacteria either. You want to have a nice balanced, it's kind of like Goldilocks and Three Bears. You want to have like a nice even keel balance of gut bacteria. The other thing that I would be remiss if I didn't talk about is alcohol consumption. Now, many of us acknowledge that alcohol is something that's going to dehydrate us, but drinking water alongside of a lot of alcoholic beverages can help to maintain hydration levels and better support your gut health and your liver health as well. So that's the important piece here as well, too, that you should consider, is that alcohol takes a little bit of a hit to your liver. And many of us are walking around with a lot of sluggish livers, and we're not able to remove some of these toxins well. And if we don't also consider drinking water alongside of the alcohol, we're not going to be able to remove those toxins as efficiently as we need to through elimination. And that can be sweating, that can be, other forms of elimination as well, too. So that's why hydration is super, super important, because it helps to maintain the strength of our cells. Now, as we move into sleep, and now I feel like because it's the holiday season and maybe, schedules are a little bit crazier, maybe you're not working as much, but you're staying out a little bit later. We've just recently been, introduced to the time change. So it gets a little darker a little bit earlier, and we have to kind of like rebalance our routine there. But sleep is super, super important for a lot of different things, and many of us have trouble sleeping through the night. So if you feel like you are waking up in the middle of the night, or you're super tired even when you wake up and you like get a full rest sleep, this is where you want to kind of also look at your gut health as well, too, because 80% of our serotonin is made within our gut lining, and we need an adequate amount of serotonin in order to produce enough melatonin. So melatonin is our sleep hormone, and it gets inversely correlated with cortisol. So when we wake up in the morning, we have an increase in cortisol, and our melatonin production becomes very low. And then as we kind of go through our day, our cortisol slowly dips down, and melatonin begins to rise. And that's what's supposed to happen. That's your normal circadian curve. And if you want to kind of learn more about where your cortisol levels are, a salivary cortisol test is the best way to kind of figure out where you lean towards that. But regardless, if we've got stress in our gut, we're not able to produce enough of that serotonin in our body. So we won't be able to produce a stronger hit of melatonin. So maybe we are more tired and wired with everything. And we just want to assess the gut in order to make sure we're sleeping properly. But the other reason why the gut is so impactful to our sleep is because it helps us with regulating different digestive processes. So this includes the secretion of our digestive enzymes and hormones. So disrupted sleep impacts these processes, and it can affect the gut. It can lead you feeling more bloated. It can reduce your motility. So maybe it's a little bit slower, and you have the constipation and things like that that are really uncomfortable for many people and not at all normal and part of a healthy way of living. In addition, sleep is really crucial for immune function as well. And how that relates to the gut is poor sleep is associated with increased inflammation in the body. So this can potentially affect your gut lining if you've got a lot of this inflammation, especially the systemic inflammation, because it contributes to conditions like leaky gut. And if you're not familiar with what leaky gut actually is, you've got this intestinal lining, and over time with inflammation and different stress and all of the different things that we're exposed to in our world that is unfortunately toxic with the water and the air and all the things, those spaces in between can become open, and they can allow things like pathogens or bacteria or yeast or parasites or even undigested food particles to go in and impact your immune system, and your immune system targets it thinking there's an issue, which there is, because you're not supposed to have those holes, but then it basically puts your immune system in action. But then if you're, staying out a little bit later and you're eating foods that aren't really your normal healthy foods, your immune system kind of takes a back seat, and it makes it a little bit easier for you to develop feelings of not feeling so great too. The other reason why sleep and gut health can be related, and it's important to kind of consider that for the holidays, is because it can help to regulate our hormones. And for these hormones, I'm more talking about like your satiety hormones. So we've got our leptin and ghrelin. They tell us when we're full and when we're not full. So when we don't have enough sleep, it can in fact impact that balance between leptin and ghrelin, and it can increase our blood sugar and tell us that we're maybe a little bit more hungry, or maybe we want to kind of go to more of that sugar type foods because it gives us that quicker hit of energy as opposed to sticking with a well-balanced meal. And when you're doing that, your body's looking for energy. So when you aren't sleeping properly, your body's like, I need some energy like now. So I'm going to gravitate to things that give me the most energy in the quickest amount of time. Your body's smart in that way. So this is why adequate sleep is important, because it impacts how your body's going to want to react in the days to come too. So just kind of think about that as you are, approaching the holiday season, and maybe there is a dish that you can bring that is more balanced in a way, so that way you can ensure that you are not feeding that quick energy, but sleeping at a regular time is going to be hugely helpful. We didn't really talk about blue light, but that's another aspect of sleep that's super important, because that impacts your melatonin levels as well as you increase the cortisol from the blue light exposure too. So just being sure when you can to power down your devices or put them on a separate room, just to ensure that you get some sleep during the excitement of the season. Now, let's talk about stress, because we'd be remiss if we didn't equate stress and gut health to each other as well. So you might know that there's a connection between your gut and your brain. And if you didn't know, there is your gut is often considered the second brain. So when we are looking at our gut, stress can impact the way our gut brain axis is. Sorry, let me back up really quickly. Stress can affect and disrupt the balance of the gut bacteria, and this can impact and imbalance our digestive issues and kind of impact our overall gut health. So what that means is that if we've got a lot of stress through the excitement, and this can be good stress too, it doesn't necessarily always have to be bad stress, which I think is a common misconception, but like you're super excited and you're having a great time, but like you're running around and you're hitting rush hour traffic, or you're hitting traffic like getting to the next destination, whatever the case is. Having too much stress is never a good thing. And even that's the same thing with a good stress too. But the stress can impact the way that our body's able to stay balanced as well. And that imbalance that we feel mentally can impact our gut too. Additionally, there is an inflammatory response. So when we feel stress, again, your body doesn't really know if it's good stress or bad stress. It's the same thing like if you're exercising, like that's good, but exercise can still be perceived as stressful to the body. So you have to make sure you have those downshift moments where you're telling your body like, okay, this is safe. I'm not stressed out. I'm not getting arrested, like run over by a tiger or anything like that. When our body perceives that we have stress, we release stress hormones. It's called cortisol, and that can lead to potential inflammation in the gut. It can ruin the integrity of our gut lining, making us more susceptible to having those digestive proteins kind of come into play, or allowing bacteria to seep in, allowing yeast overgrowth to seep in. And while your gut bacteria will try to balance it out, if it has an overload of that, it's not going to be able to maximize that effect as well as it could. We've talked a lot about cortisol as well too, and cortisol can impact the hormonal balance and also disrupt digestion and nutrient absorption. We'll talk about meal hygiene in just a second, but that's kind of where I'm going with when I talk about cortisol levels. You want to be eating in an environment that is not stressful. So you want to do your best to, be around people and laugh and be amongst a community as opposed to staring at a screen and things like that. But since I'm kind of talking about meal hygiene, let's go into mindful eating tips right now. So we'll go down to meal hygiene right here. So when you're thinking about good meal hygiene, you want your feet flat on the floor. You want to chew to a paste. A lot of times people are chewing and swallowing and very quickly, and that undigested food to the maximum degree can really be playing a part in our bloating and our gas as well too. So the best piece of advice that I can give you is to put your your fork down in between you have a bite and chew, chew, chew. And you have to be very intentional about this. And I think it can be hard when there's a lot of people around, because you're like wanting to talk to people, and then your autonomic reflex is to swallow, but just try to like really taste the food, savor every little bit of it. This encourages and helps your gut not be so overwhelmed with a bunch of your stimulus. Like, it's already probably going to have food that's not the best, which is fine, but you want to do your best to kind of really digest it properly, so then your gut doesn't have to do, and your body just as a general doesn't have to do as much work. Speaking on, ways to get your body to do less work and kind of put it in a little bit of a less stressful situation, the other thing that I would encourage is to opt away from cold beverages and opt for more warmer, like ginger tea or peppermint teas. What this does is it helps to improve the motility of your food through your digestive tract. What cold water does, especially like cold ice water, which I know can be really refreshing, but it stunts your motility. So using something like ginger tea or peppermint tea can be really calming for a lot of people, especially if you've got a lot of like reflux and bloating and gas. This might be something that you try to do in addition to chewing your food to a pace. So like if you're the type of person that like wants to have a beverage with a meal, opt for a tea. That would be a better option for you. And then, I know this is a hard thing to do, and especially because it's getting a little bit darker outside, but if you have the ability to do a 10-minute walk following your meal, that's going to be the best thing that you can do to balance out your blood sugar. Basically, what it's telling your body is that it's telling your nervous system to it's okay, you're good, and you're able to kind of move the food through in an effective way possible. A lot of times we are kind of going from one thing to the next thing to the next thing, and then we finally sit down. But encourage your body to kind of walk it out and just move the food through your body a little bit easier, because likely we are in a situation where our body feels like it's super blocked up. So just piling things on top of each other can be super stressful too. But if you don't have the ability to do a walk, consider, starting with the tea. We talked about good meal hygiene, and something else that you can also consider doing is utilizing apple cider vinegar. And apple cider vinegar is amazing for a lot of different things, but it's not for everybody. So you have to figure out if it works best for you. But this helps to encourage stomach acid, and it can boost enough stomach acid to help you digest your food. If you're using digestive enzymes, that's another great tool as well too. But I've just left a simple recipe of apple cider vinegar. You definitely don't want to do it like as a shot solely. So just be careful, because that's not going to feel good going down. So those are some good mindful eating tips that you can incorporate with you. Honestly, you can do these literally any time of the year. It doesn't have to be during the holidays, but especially if you're going to engage in more of the activities that are a little bit abnormal, I would pick a few of these to really be intentional about. Now, I promised you that I would give you a little bit of an explanation and some strategies to get ahead for 2024. Now, 2023 came and went by so quickly, and perhaps this world of functional medicine is new to you, or maybe it's not. But there are a lot of different ways that you can address your gut. So if you're the type of person where you're like, I think my gut might be a little bit off, or, maybe you've been working on your hormones or your thyroid and you haven't really seen a lot of improvements, it may be time to start to look at the gut as well too, because the gut is a good foundational aspect to a lot of different things in the body too. So I would recommend considering some gut testing. So you can use gut health testing to figure out if you have something like candida or yeast overgrowth. You can look to see if you have bacteria overgrowth as well, to ensure that you do have a good balance of good and bad bacteria, mostly good, but like not too much good. You can see if you have parasite infections, and these are one of the most pervasive types of things in the gut that I think is so uncomfortable for people to talk about, because the sheer thought of just having a parasite can be a little bit difficult to grasp. But they also create a lot of dysfunction in the body, so a good gut health test will help you identify if that's something that you are struggling with. And then the good news is that there's ways to remediate that too. A good gut health test will also tell you if you've got mold as well present in your body. And if you have some mold in your body, be it whether you've been exposed or you don't know if you've been exposed, mold is very stressful for our immune system, as are all of these other different gut dysfunctions. But mold can make people pretty sick too. So a good gut health test helps you identify many of these things, and we do have the ability to kind of give you that resource here at Infinite Wellness too. So the other thing that I would recommend for 2022 is schedule your upcoming blood work. If you know you're due, start to schedule it, and then also utilize that to begin to identify your potential imbalances. If your goal is to like get healthy and stay healthy and try to implement a more longevity type approach to things, understand what your imbalances are and know that you can fix them. It's just you have to kind of work the process there too. The other thing that you can do, which I know seems a little bit different, but you can consider hair tissue mineral analysis testing. If you're the type of person where you feel like I may not be absorbing all of my nutrients properly, or I know that there's maybe some gut dysregularity, or maybe my stomach acid production isn't great, a hair tissue mineral analysis is another great place to start as well too. It's just a simple hair sample, and you can identify imbalances within your thyroid, within your blood sugar, within your nervous system, your digestive system, and you can also see if there's heavy metals as well that could be just impacting and adding more stress to your body than you actually need. So these are 3 ways that you can kind of work to get ahead for 2024. And we are definitely a good resource to help you with that. But yes, I hope you found this presentation helpful, and I hope you're ready for the holiday season. Happy holidays to all of you all. And yeah, let us know if you have any questions at all.
Wait, I was like trying to like unmute myself and do all the things all at once. Okay.
So many things.
So many things. All right. So I appreciate all of that.
Yeah.
There was a couple of things I definitely, even for myself, have to, let's stop this recording.